Alexander was born in Pella in July 356 BC. The very day the great temple of Artemis, goddess Diana, was burned down in Ephesus. His first teacher was Leonidas, relative to his mother. Leonidas was a strict man who taught Alexander temperance. But his great teacher was Aristotle, invited by Philip to Pella. Later, in the town of Mysa, he taught his philosophy to Alexander. Arian Anabasis of Alexander, Volume 7, Chapter 28. Alexander died in the 114th Olympiad, in the archonship at Athens of Aegisias. He lived 32 years and 8 months, as Aristobulus says. He reigned 12 years and the aforesaid 8 months. In body he was very handsome, a great lover of hardships, of much shrewdness, most courageous, most jealous for honor and danger, and most careful of religion, most temperate in bodily pleasure, but as for pleasures of the mind, insatiable of glory alone, most brilliant to seize on the right course of action, even when all was obscure, and where all was clear, most happy in his conjectures of likelihood. Most masterly in marshalling an army, arming and equipping it, and in uplifting his soldiers' spirits and filling them with good hopes, and brushing away anything fearful in dangers by his own want of fear. In all this, most noble. And all that had to be done in uncertainty, he did it with utmost daring. He was most skilled in swift anticipation and gripping of his enemy before anyone had time to fear the event. He was most reliable in keeping promises and agreement, most guarded in not being trapped by fraudulent, very sparing of money for his own pleasure, but most generous in benefits of others. If, however, Alexander committed any error, through haste or in anger, or if he went some distance in the direction of eastern Argons, this I do not regard as important. If readers will consider in a spirit of charity Alexander's youth, his unbroken success, and those courtiers who associate with kings to flatter but not to improve them, and who always will associate with kings to their harm. But I do know that to Alexander alone, of the kings of old, did repentance for his false crown, by reason of his noble nature, while most people, if they have admitted any error, by defending their misdeeds as if it were a good deed, think that they will conceal their error, and this is a great mistake. For I at least feel that the only cure for sin is confession of sin, and evidence of repentance, since the offended party will not feel the offense is so grievous if the offender agrees that he did not well, and for the man himself this good hope is left behind for the future. that he will not so offend again if he appear grieved at the errors of the past, but that he referred his birth to a god. Even this I do not altogether think to be grave fault, if it was not perhaps a mere device to impress his subjects and to appear more dignified. In point of fact, I hold him no less famous a king than Minos, Aeacus or Rhadamanthus. They trace their origin back to Zeus, and yet this was not associated by men of old with any arrogance, nor then Theseus descend from Poseidon, nor Ion from Apollo. Moreover, I feel that the adoption of Persian equipage was a device, both towards the Persians, so that their king might not appear wholly removed from them, and towards the Macedonians to mark some reversion from Macedonian abruptness and arrogance. For the same reason, I suspect, he drafted into their ranks the Persian troops who carried the golden apples, and the Persian nobles into their cavalry squadrons. And his carousings, as Aristobulus says, were prolonged, not for the wine, for Alexander was not wine-bibber, but from a spirit of comradeship. Whosoever speaks evil of Alexander, let him speak such evil, not merely by producing what deserves evil speaking, but gathering all that Alexander did into a single whole. Let such a one consider first himself, his own personality, his own fortunes, and then, on the other hand, Alexander, what he became, and the height of human prosperity which he reached, having made himself king, beyond all contradiction, of both continents, and having spread his fame over the widest possible span. Let such a one, I say, consider of whom he speaks evil, himself being more puny and busied about puny things, and not even bringing these to success. For I myself believe that there was at that time no race or mankind, no city, no single individual whither the name of Alexander had not reached. And so not even I can suppose that a man quite beyond all other men was born without some divine influence. Moreover, oracles are said to have prophesied Alexander's death, and visions coming to different persons, and dreams dreamed by different persons. There was also the general regard of mankind leading to the same conclusion, and the memory of one more than human. And even now, there are other oracles after this great gap of time, which have been delivered to the Macedonian race, and all tending to the highest estimation of him. True it is that I myself have quarrelled with certain acts in my history of Alexander's deeds, but I am not bold to admire Alexander himself, and those acts I blamed, both for the sake of my veracity and also for the general benefit of mankind. And that is why I myself too took up this history, not without the help of God.